Welcome to pattern making class. This is Annette Julie, and in our last video we took our basic 1 dart bodice block and we transferred our waist dart by the pivot method over to the side seam. And in this video we're going to add some seam allowance. And we can get rid of all this extra paper in a minute, but let's add some seam allowance to our pattern first. This would be for woven. So in our shoulder, we would always have 1/2 inch. And on our neckline, we would use 1/4 inch. So I've placed the ruler 1/4 inch away, right on that line. And I'm drawing little lines then we're going to come with our hip curve. And we're going to blend. Flip the ruler. Let's go ahead and blend right here. Now let's go to the armhole. And if we were going to put a sleeve in here, this would be 1/2 inch. I'm just going to firm up that line there. That looks good. Let's add 1/2 inch to our front armhole. Here's our line. We're going to place our ruler out that 1/2 inch and make little lines as we rotate around the armhole. Take our hip curve. Let's go ahead and blend. Your seam allowance. Flip the ruler for the lower section. You should be doing this normally in pencil, but I need to pattern make in ink so people can see a little bit. Now let's go back to folding that dart. For this project, we're going to keep that big dart pickup in there. For another video, we'll do a cutaway dart. So I folded everything back in its place. And I had corrected that seam, brought that out a little bit to make a straight line in the last video after we had pivoted. Lining that up. Adding that 1/2 inch. Squaring my corner. That's my side seam. We just finished the armhole. Now we're down here to the waist. 1/2 inch. For now, if we were joining a skirt on there and making it into a dress, we can take our hip curve with the straight part towards the center front, lay this down and blend. This is looking very nice. Now, I very much like to cut this side seam out, but make sure you don't cut the piece out underneath. So, like I had mentioned before, you can tape this or have it weighted. And since we're cutting the side seam off, like I can put a piece of tape here, and then that's can cut off. So don't cut the piece underneath, but cut this dart pickup. Great, now let's go ahead and see what that looks like with the seam allowance. You can cut the rest of the seam allowance off. Here we are back to our neckline, 1/4 of an inch, so that we may put in a facing or a collar. Here on the shoulder, 1/2 inch, and this is for wovens. Now let's do our armhole. Let's cut this out. 1/2 inch for setting in a sleeve. If we were doing sleeveless with the facing, the seam allowance we could use would be 1/4. But we're using 1/2 for sewing or setting in a sleeve. And here we see our single notch in the front armhole. Single means front. It can also mean under. Now we'll go ahead and cut out our waist. Sometimes it's nice to put a little U around it so we can see that's a notch. And right here, coming into our side seam, that's a notch. This is our French dart. And then here in the front, we haven't decided what to do, but we do know that this is our center front. So if we were putting in a zipper, I might just put a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, but if I was making a front with the facing, I might do 1 inch and fold it back. So let's go out a full inch so you can have a nice overlap. And we can fold back 1 or 2 inches for now until we decide what we're going to do with our front design. And here is your pivot method, 1 dart transfer to the French dart. And also, if we had a right and a left, we would make this a cut 2. So we would have a cut 2, and we'd have our whole front pattern. We would have a right and a left. And self fabric would mean that that would match the whole garment. This is Annette Julie, and I look forward to having you watch one of my next videos.